So guys, I'm pretty sure, how many founders in the room? Raise your hands. And how many of you want to do an IPO in the coming years for your companies? Well, most people want to have a strategic sellout. So we'll keep this short, it looks like. Or maybe they're wanting to keep it bootstrapped. Well, whatever your plan is, definitely every company wants to scale up. And there are only a very few founders who actually, in my experience of having worked with founders over the last 10 odd years between seed and IPO, and Bipin's company, MobiKwik, was one such company where I led an investment at the pre-IPO stage in 2021. Very few founders actually admit on stage their learnings, and Bipin is one of them. So I had no hesitation in inviting him to speak to all of us. And I will also be sharing some of the learnings that we get over here for all of you on my LinkedIn handle as well. And I'm sure Bipin will not hesitate to give us, truly as it is. So I'm going to ask you very searching questions, Bipin. A 2,000 crore company, a 15-year journey, and that too in the fintech space, lots of ups and downs, right? If you look back and, you started off like everybody else over here as a seed founder, what are the things, that you felt were very important as a seed founder? And today you kind of look back and laugh at yourself and say, well, it's not so relevant at the IPO stage, right? There must have been a few things which were extremely relevant, which you found and very, very dear to you, and you focused on them. And as you scaled the company and came to the IPO stage, you said there's a set of different things that you're now looking at, and the ones that you looked at weren't so relevant anymore. So let's start with some of that, make it a little bit lighter.
Thank you. Thanks, Anup. Firstly, I want to thank you and the Huddle Global team for inviting me here. So I come from Gurgaon, really welcoming the change of air here, and very happy to be here. And I visited the exhibition and saw some of the startups. Really commendable work that's going on here in terms of some of the startups who are building stuff from drones to AI to all kinds of systems and software. And I'm a technology guy myself. So I studied at IIT Delhi. I studied electrical engineering. And at my heart, I'm not a founder. I'm an engineer. And I was an engineer before I started MobiKwik. I worked at some little-known companies like Intel and another company which is known for AI these days, a small company called NVIDIA, And, sometimes I think, what would have been possible if I had stayed in NVIDIA instead of, leaving my job and...
I'm going to ask that question off stage.
starting MobiKwik. But, I think, founders here will understand that when you... It's a calling, when you start a company, when you want to start a business, that's how I started. One day I woke up, I said, I don't want to work at a job and I want to start something of my own. And I don't come from a very rich background, right? I had a few lakhs of savings. And, so it was like, at home, set up a table. And I'm talking about 15 years ago when we started. You talk about seed. I don't think the term seed existed at that time. The term angel investments and all those things never existed at that time. In fact, even smartphones were not yet there in India. So that's how long ago I started. But I think, a lot of things have changed in the last 15 years. But I think the one thing which has stayed consistent, which has taken me from that day when I started and incorporated the company, set up a table, me and my co-founder in our drawing room, to ringing the bell last year at the Bombay Stock Exchange and going IPO. I think the one thing which has stayed consistent is adaptability and learning. Right. Because that is the most important skill one needs to have if you want to take a company from zero to whatever level, whether it's IPO or not, doesn't matter. But if you want to make it a big business, scale business, I think that is what it is. Because the world around us is changing. And especially if it is around technology, it's not a static world. Things are changing all the time. And especially in our business, like you correctly said, we are in the fintech business. We are in payments. We have wallet business, we have UPI business, we have payment gateway business, but we also along the way realized we have to build more businesses. So we built businesses like digital lending, digital wealth, which contribute significant to our top line and bottom line. And the reason we did that is because we realized that we want to scale it and we have to do new things. So if you see even the world's biggest companies like Nvidia and Google, AI was nowhere there a few years ago. But today they are all saying we want to work like a startup. So if they can think like that, I'm sure in India, with so much brain power that we have and so much, I would say, adaptability and the effort which is there, which we have seen from startup entrepreneurs here in India, I'm sure we can go a long way.
So adaptability and learning are the two things that you're sharing with the audience, and that's what stayed with you right from a seed to an IPO stage. So let's go back to Bipin of 15 years ago, who started off as an early stage founder, and today Bipin is a public listed company's founder. What would you tell the Bipin of 15 years ago today? So what in effect I'm asking you is, what would you tell the founders over here today who are planning their IPOs in whatever time, 7, 10 years from now, what would you tell them as founders?
I met so many people here in the stalls, like people who are building new stuff, but I feel that somewhere there is a little bit lack of confidence.
Lack of confidence, okay.
And lack of, there needs to be tremendous self-belief. So what I would tell myself 15 years ago is that, boss, what you're looking at, this is a big market. You have something good in your hands. Give it your best and ignore the naysayers.
Amazing.
And ignore the naysayers, because when you do something new, the default answer is, oh, this won't work, this won't work. How can somebody use an app for a wallet or digital payments? In India, nobody does digital payments. Yeah. How can somebody use an app for taking a loan? How can somebody use an app to do investments? All these things I've heard hundreds of times from all across, from media, investors, everybody. So if there is one secret to success, is have huge amount of self-belief, go out and conquer the world, especially to a lot of the youngsters that we have here who are building amazing stuff. Think big.
Okay. Well, and I put myself in that category. And you talked about a little feeling of lower confidence, especially at an early stage when things can really go back. They can shut down, right? And every founder goes through a journey where they're looking for support of their idea, validation. There is no better validation of an idea than probably with a consumer, but it doesn't happen overnight. You're also building product. You need to, manage your team to develop that product, to get the first sales in, to get the second sales in, and so on and so forth. And when you start to get confidence about your product and your company, so in between that stage, there is a lot of burnout. There is that feeling of confidence that you might have experienced. So what helped you to navigate that if you felt that? And I'm sure there must have been some times, right, when you were rejected by investors incessantly, and then you found that investor who backed you, whether at the IPO stage or whether when you were invested by Sequoia and American Express and Bajaj Finance. So share some moments, because that's very critical for founders.
So there was a time, when we started, like I said, there was no seed funds, there was no angel funds, no grants, there was no Kerala Startup Mission. And so when I started and I didn't have money, so we were doing everything out of our own savings. And I remember an incident where an investor called me to the lobby of a five-star hotel in Gurgaon, and I told him the idea of MobiKwik, or how MobiKwik, how I see the world changing, because people will start using smartphones and smartphone apps for doing all kinds of digital transactions. And he was like, what is the first use case? I said, just for topping up your phone, for kind of things like prepaid recharge, because that was the only use case we had. And he said that, oh, this is something that only lower class people do.
Wow.
And he told me on his face, and this is never going to work. And I don't want to name the person, but that person has been reaching out in the last couple of years, especially now since we've done an IPO, saying that, oh, let's collaborate, let's do something. Tell me what are your new ideas on fintech.
Okay.
So, as an entrepreneur, you have to prove the world wrong. And you have to prove yourself right. Of course, you have to adapt and you have to do the right things. So how do you know if you're doing the right things? I think the most important thing is, do you have customers? Forget media, forget investors, forget anyone else, forget your peers. If your customers, even one customer or 10 customers or 100 customers love your product, then you are on the right track. After that, you just have to keep doing the same thing, keep improving your product, and get more customers. Then you have to figure out how to do marketing and distribution, which I find is also a challenge because, like, we in India, we are great at tech, we are great at building products, but we are not necessarily great at sales or marketing.
Yeah.
And that's something I learned the hard way. When I made MobiKwik website, I thought I've made the website, why are people not coming? And then I discovered that no, people will not come by them. Customers will not come by themselves. You have to solve for something called distribution, right? Whether you are in a B2B business or a B2C business, you have to figure out a strategy of how to acquire customers. So first is whether customers love your product. Second, if you have a good distribution and sales strategy, and that's it. Then everybody will come after you. You will get the numbers. People will see your traction. That's literally what happened. We bootstrapped for 4 years. And we had VCs coming to a 5-bedroom flat, which was an office,
Yeah.
right, which we had set up. And this was very storied, big investors who did a Series A.
Yeah.
And the MDs and the partners had come all the way from Singapore to see, that these 20 guys are working out of a 5-bedroom flat as an office. And they were like, okay, great, you guys got the numbers,
Yeah.
you guys have customers, so we will do the Series A. And that's how the story started.
Well, investors definitely respect that hunger, respect that commitment. And I don't think any founder should feel shy of that 5-bedroom flat or whichever humble place they're working out of, as long as they're working passionately. How did your own role, and this is also useful to so many founders in the audience, so I'm keeping it deliberately focused on that. How did your own role and therefore your focus as a founder evolve? So when you're at the early stage, you're building products, you're getting those customers, you're building your team slowly and slowly. You're almost building, and it's a growth phase, it's a build-out phase, it's a risky phase, you're also fundraising. And today, as you're leading a public listed company where you're on the lens, somebody can be recording in the audience about what you're saying today. And, and that could be, tomorrow influencing the trajectory on your share price. What is the difference in your role and your focus as a founder from that stage to now today?
The biggest difference that happens is that building a company is an exercise in building a team. And without team, you can't do anything. You can be the smartest, you can be Einstein, you can be Elon Musk, you can be anyone. But you need a rock star team and a team which you hire yourself, at least initially. People who will do marketing better than you. People who will develop technology better than you. People who will, solve for process-related things, finance team, everything. I think the main thing is what has changed, at least for me personally, is that I used to think that, I can do everything and I should do everything. And from there, I discovered that that is not the case, because I cannot be best at everything at all times. So I have to build a team who I can rely on, who will take the company and the brand and the business forward. And so today, as we are sitting and being a listed company, I can relax. I shouldn't say that, but that's the thing, that I have people, I have a core team who drives the company forward.
No, that's very well said, actually. They say that the smartest person in the room is not the one with the highest IQ, but one who can collect the smartest number of people around him or her and make them work in the direction that he or she wants it. I don't think we have time, otherwise I would have asked you a question which I think will please all the founders over here very much, which is what are the, can I ask one question? Okay, one question is allowed, wonderful. You went through different fundraising cycles, okay? Early stage fundraising is a private one-on-one conversation like you and I are having today. You could be visiting investor offices could be coming to you, that's Series A, B, C, whatever, etc. But the moment you go and list your company, you're talking to mutual fund managers, you're talking to hedge fund managers. I'm sure that any of the early stage founders in the audience or even the mid stage founders haven't really experienced that. So talk a bit about what is the difference in the investor psychology that you see or have seen at different stages of fundraising that you did personally, because you've seen the entire spectrum.
I think you are better equipped to answer that, but let me take that. So when you are in early stage, especially if you are building technology and product, I think what investors are looking for is the founder himself or herself, whether this person can build a company. And that's a very, very big call, right? In terms of whether this person can hire, whether this person's idea is good, etc. So in the early stage, the first stage, a lot of it is about the founder or if he or she has a team. As it goes forward, I think that has to translate into what we call as traction, right? When you go to Series A, Series B, it's about the idea, whether the idea has gone into and become some product, and the product has some customers or something what we call as product market fit, right? Whether the product is finding the market and the customers. And then there is a business model fit after that, which is, okay, people are using your customers, but are they willing to pay for it? Is someone willing to pay for it? And that becomes your source of revenue, right? And when you actually grow through all these stages and eventually want to go IPO, they don't ask you about product and technology. Of course, they are interested, but what they want to know is, tell me your financials. Tell me your working capital.
Can you make
tell
money?
me how much profit you make or you will make. And so we will tell you what is the worth of this business.
What is your valuation looks like. Great, yeah. Thank you so much. I think this covers the entire spectrum. This is all we could squeeze in, and thank you for the extra time. I'm pretty sure a lot of founders here in the audience would love to get in touch with you. I'm, of course, going to take some of these learnings and put it in my post on LinkedIn. So please do look out for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.